is certainly a testament to, I think, the role that Boulder County is going to play this November. It's great to be back here for me personally. It has been a crazy 14 months, or 15 months, I guess I should say, in Washington, D.C. About a year and a half ago, you all here in Boulder County gave me the honor of a lifetime, which is to serve and represent you in the United States Congress and to represent the 2nd District at a pretty pivotal time in our country's history. And as I look back about the last 2 years of my service, there are a lot of adjectives that I could use to describe it, but the truth of the matter is that every week when I get on a plane and go back to Washington, D.C., I'm reminded that we live in very, very important times, that the fate of our republic is very much at risk. You saw that just last year when obviously the Congress embarked on the solemn process of impeachment that I felt we had to take to defend our Constitution and ultimately make sure that this president would not further undermine the checks and balances that have governed our country for the better part of 230 years. But the reality is, it is hard to lead that process. And I know, I'm sure many of you watched the proceedings in the House and the trial in the Senate. It is difficult to not lead that process with a great sense of cynicism about the state of our politics and the state of our federal government. Right? It's hard not to leave being very jaded about what our government has become at the federal level. You could be forgiven, right, if you felt that. And yet, at the end of the day, if I've learned anything in the last year and a half, it is that we have got to resist the temptation to lose faith in ourselves and in our federal government. Because that is what this president and his party want us to do. Listen, here's the deal. They want us to no longer believe in the goodness of the ability to solve big problems, the ability for us to come together as a country and bring respect and humility and decency and empathy to our body politic. They want to debase political discourse in this country so much that everybody else stops engaging, that they stop paying attention. We can't let that happen. There is a great... I'm deviating a little bit. I had my normal, stump speech prepared. I was going to go through all those details. But the truth of the matter is I'm deviating a little bit because I've been thinking about a lot about this in particular over the last few days. There's a great article that I was reading on my flight back from Washington on Friday that talks about nihilism in this day and age, right? The belief in nothing. And that the best way to beat nihilism is a belief in something. And the good news is we as Democrats do believe in something. Right? We believe in fighting for clean air and clean water and taking on the existential threat of climate change. We believe in providing health care to each and every American, to protecting public lands for future generations. We believe in lifting others up out of poverty and making sure there's an economic ladder so that every American can live the American dream, regardless of where you come from, what you look like, what zip code you were born in, or whether your parents have accents like mine. We believe that. And the good news is, both of the candidates running in the Democratic primary for president believe that too. So don't lose faith. We can win this November. We must win this November. And every one of us is going to have to unite around these common values, these sets of principles that have guided our party and have guided our country for much longer than one generation. So I thank you for the privilege of representing you in the United States Congress. I hope that I can count on your support to re-elect me for a 2nd term. And with your help, we will make sure we win this November. Thank you so much, Boulder County Democrats, for having me. I appreciate it.